Hi, these comments are for Bilal. This is Michael. And you're doing some pronunciation practice today. You're focusing on thought groups and blending, an important area which helps you to improve your pacing for the speaking section of the TOEFL IBT, right? That's kind of what you're doing. Now let's do this. So I have your recording here. I actually have the paragraph that you're working on over here. So
Many
here we
of the
go.
sports which the ancient Greeks practiced and which made up a part of their own Olympics still survive in some way or other in the sports which we practice today.
Okay, good. So your pacing was pretty good. Just remember that after each thought group, your tone should be slightly higher, and then your tone should fall when you get to the end of the sentence.
Their motivation, however, was for practice for war, and it's in such motivation that one can understand the emphasis on martial skills such as wrestling, boxing, the javelin, and running, while still including such less directly applicable sports as discus and jumping.
Good.
Over time,
And say as discus and jumping, jumping.
as interest grew in sport and the competition alone, new sports were added.
Okay, now you got to work on the tone there. So let's look at that sentence. So over time, as interest grew in sport and competition alone, new sports were added. But it was these core sports which stood the test of time and which have continued to be practiced in similar form right up into the present day.
But it was these core sports which stood the test
It was these core
of
sports.
time and which have continued to be practiced in similar form right up to the present day. Wrestling must be regarded as the most important sport practiced in ancient Greece. The very name Palestra, wrestling school, must indicate its importance in Greek life. Nor need we be surprised at this, for all over the world, in cultures far distant from each other, one can find styles of wrestling and fighting for its useful skill in war. Many
Okay, so I think that your pacing is actually pretty good, but you still need to work on the tone a little bit more, right? So let's just look at the very first sentence of the paragraph. So you have many of the sports which the ancient Greeks practiced and which made up part of their own Olympics still survive in some way or other in the sports which we practice today. So then our tone's going to drop when we get to the last part of that sentence there. So that's the one improvement I want you to make is adjust the tone. The tone in English is a combination of higher and lower tones, and you have to identify the tonal changes by identifying the thought groups in the sentences that you speak. And remember that at the end of each thought group, the tone goes up slightly unless it's the last thought group in the sentence, at which point the tone falls. And it's that lowering and rising of tone which gives you kind of a natural speaking rhythm. All right?